and welcome to Gruen. But wait, there's more. Why are more ads offering more, like Western Star?
Western Star. More than butter.
No, it's not. It's just butter. I checked, that's enough. I can believe it's just butter. North Face promises more.
It's more than a jacket.
No, again, it's not. It's just a jacket, unless... Is it butter? Water offers more.
Water with more wow.
No thanks, my water has the exact right amount of wow. Subway offers more.
It's more than a snack, it's snackisfaction.
No more! I can't get no snackisfaction. Even banks are promising more.
NAB, more than money.
No, just money. Last time you did more than money, we needed a royal commission. Brands love to claim more as their territory, even a territory.
Canberra. There's more than they're telling us.
No, there's less. And it's okay. But wait, there's even more. Paint is made for more.
Made for more.
Bicycles are made for more.
Hercules, made for more.
Mitsubishis are...
Made for more.
Toyotas are...
Made for more.
And then there's these guys.
NBN is made for more. What's that mean?
It means don't talk to strangers in a white van. But good question. More what exactly?
More what exactly?
Yeah, what she said. Come on, NBN, are you still loading? Tell me more. What does more mean?
More than you can imagine.
Really? Well, I can imagine internet speeds that rank better than 83rd in the world. Just narrowly beaten by Mongolia. Or as I call them, Mongolia. Oh, and by the way, one other group offers more, and you really don't want to steal their slogan.
Victoria Police, made for more.
Don't look in the glove box, officer. There is more. Please welcome our panel, Todd Sampson, Christina Aventi, Karen Ferry and Dee Madigan. The Toyota Hilux is Australia's favourite car. So Aussie, it puts the ute into U-Butte. So Aussie, it isn't Aussie. It's Japanese-owned and built in Thailand. But it's still trucked up the Aussie market with just one word.
Bugger. Bugger. Bugger.
Bugger. Now, 55 years after the Hilux first entered the market, Toyota has a new ad celebrating a different kind of Aussie spirit.
Is that you?
Did he just...
He did.
Cool.
Hilux, an unbreakable connection.
I have a lot of questions. Why did Ghost Dad come back for his ute and not his family? Why does everyone in this family have their own ute? And why is Ghost Dad wearing a seatbelt? Is he worried he's going to die again? And why is everyone so calm about a ghost stealing their ute? I'd have reacted like this.
Bugger. Bugger. Bugger.
Karen, is Ghost Dad Loved Our Truck a good sell?
Yeah, I think it is a good sell, right? Because you don't see ads like this on TV anymore. Like, unfortunately, the Australian TV commercial industry is kind of dying like Hilux Dad, may he rest in peace. And when I talk about those kinds of ads, I'm talking about the traditional ads we love. So there's like a bit of story, there's drama, there's intrigue, there's a bit of like a bait and switch, so you don't know what it's about until they tell you the product, which makes you then feel delighted, and it's filmic and it's funny. But I actually think it's that style of advertising tells us who the audience is for, which is people who remember when ads used to be good on TV. Like now they're all like 6 seconds long and they just have a logo on them, where it's people who remember the previous bugger ad, but also creating affinity for a new audience who Hilux are bringing in. I'm not sure like if you guys have tried to buy a car recently, but it's currently a 12-month wait list for new cars. So secondhand market's like going off. And for Gen Zs and millennials, they are really into their kind of car is the practical, no frills, Asian manufactured kind of car they're going after. So something with like no sex appeal at all. So finally my 18-year-old Camry is really cool.
I think this is about Toyota having to shore up their brand for the first time ever. And by that, I mean actually appealing to Toyota owners. So, for example, Hilux is no longer in the top 10 leased cars, which it always used to be. And I think Toyota was always about reliability and consistency, and those things aren't as important anymore.
Yes. I totally agree with that. I think what they're trying to do is absolutely appeal to loyalists, and this is part of their succession planning, right? They don't want with the competition muscling in on their turf, like a stray rogue son or daughter, you know, the Kendall Roys of this world, to go to a Ram or a Ranger. They want them to stick and keep it within the family, otherwise you're going to be visited by a dead relative. So I'd be sticking with the Hilux. I think it's a really interesting strategy as well, right? This is a generational car play for Hilux. Now, we know that people born into their car brand, something like 39% of people will have an affinity or even buy a car that their parents supported when they were growing up, right? They've got positive memories, you know, positive performance sort of associations with it as well. And I do think they do a good job of doing a legacy play here and feeling like that sort of original, reliable workhorse. I think it's quite smart.
I mean, maybe I've been out of the industry for a long time, but that was a dead person driving a car.
Yeah, and like the more you watch that ad, and I've watched it a lot. I know Christina, the more she watched it, the more charmed she was. Yeah. The more I watch it, I'm like, the keys were in the obvious spot. Why are you wrecking the house?
I mean, the best part of that ad, hands down, was the seatbelt. And we all know, because most of us, everyone's worked on cars, and there's so much regulation and so much self-censoring you have to go through to make a car ad. You can't show it, you know, going too crazy, you can't show it going too fast. You always have to show someone using a seatbelt. So I could imagine the creative meeting when they're going, okay, we actually do have to put the seatbelt on the ghost that's not in the seat.
Because no one thought to come up with a rule that says you can't have dead people driving a car.
No, that's right.
As our love for the Hilux has grown, so has the Hilux itself, which is now almost the size of a World War II Sherman tank. Lest we forget the milk. Now it's D-Day with the arrival of Americans on our shores in trucks so big, this is the only way to get in them. Cool. The most popular Yank tank is the Ram, which crashed into the market like this.
So you really needed a Hemi V8, did you?
Get in. Enough said.
Enough said.
With the world's most powerful pickup joining the range, Ram eats everything else for breakfast.
No. Not enough said. What's going on? You lied to me about having a lot of pot that you needed to shift, and now you've driven me out to the middle of the desert. You could have just said, I like to go off-road sometimes. Where are we? I have brunch after this. Oh, and in real life, those adventures end up looking more like this. Bugger. Do you say enough said when you have nothing to say?
See, I reckon they do have things they could have said here, but don't. I mean, the reality is this car shouldn't be allowed. Here, Australia and Russia are the only two developed countries in the world without a fuel emissions standard, like we're getting one later in the year. So this car couldn't even be sold in Europe. So it's this massive, big, gas-guzzling beast. And I feel like they should have just kind of owned that, because there's a target market for it. And the end line, eats others for breakfast, sounds cool. I would have done the whole thing on that. We are the big, bastard, and they would have got a whole lot of guys going, I want to drive that too. Instead, they've just sort of...
Normally, I think that joke feels a bit classist, but tonight we're up against State of Origin, so no one who's offended is watching it.
Building an idea around that. They've got some random, suburban dude putting a pot in it, and then they've just got a whole lot of stock shots that have been in every four-wheel drive ad forever. So I feel like they've actually missed an opportunity.
Yeah, the targeting of these is quite interesting. So generally when it comes to these utes or bigger vehicles, you've got the people that need them, and all that's about utility and function. Then you got the people that want them, and that's about ego and overcompensating and all the other stuff that come with that. This is primarily, no one needs something that size. That's primarily a want.
Look, it might be a shit ad on lots of different levels, but I think it's actually trying to say a lot. It's trying to justify this vehicle. And the first thing I clock is that everything is oversized, right? Like the footpath, driveway, the house, the ego, even the giant concrete pot is oversized, but they're small on the torque. And I think what's interesting about that is that they're trying to sort of reflect a prevailing bias, right? So the mate says, why do you need this Hemi Truckzilla thingamajiggy thing? What he's really saying in ute speak is you bloody trucking wanker, right? Why do you need this footpath crushing overlord to, transport your back-breaking concrete pots for your giant fig leaves that you have at home? This is what he's trying to say. And this opens up a great opportunity for a conversion story or a hostage moment, as it might appear. And that obligatory product demo, right? It makes so much sense to him now. And we know he's converted because he has this unnerving post-orgasmic look on his face. So I actually think it's saying a lot, but to your point, maybe not the right things.
I mean, it's tough if after sex someone turns to you and says, "'Nuff said." Ute ads used to be truck full of misogyny.
6-speed, 260 kilowatt Falcon XR8 ute.
I reckon we should pull over and give him a ride.
Yeah. It's got unbelievable pulling power.
I won't call those guys wankers, but let's say they have unbelievable pulling power. Now ads proudly feature women in the passenger seat. But male inadequacy is still front and centre.
Imagine yourself behind the wheel of a real truck. The Ram 1500 pickup truck.
Here's something interesting we found in our research. He later left his wife for that truck. And macho trucks all need macho names like Warlock, Rogue, Raptor, Triton, Thunder, and Wild Track. T-R-A-K, no C, because it's driven by hard unts. Christina, could you sell a truck called the Cuddle?
I wish. Probably not. I think that there's something about utes that it's the last bastion of masculinity. I think particularly when sort of soccer mums have taken over that four-wheel drive market. And what I find really interesting is in a world of sort of gender-neutral names, this is anything but neutral. It actually takes me back to a time, I get flashbacks to where you could have this sort of unapologetic, unashamed, sort of macho energy and symbolism. And here you've got everything on show, everything from, dark sorcery to the weather system to birds of prey and an outlaw. Like, it's just full of alpha energy. And there is some, I guess, truth that this is positioned like a family car, but it's also a refuge from the family. This feels like a man cave on wheels. Like the shed's the tray, basically. Like it's every part of Maslow's hierarchy for a man on these big Tonka toy-size wheels. And I think the name has to fit with that. It has to be congruent with that. The naming it's not like naming dogs where you name your mini poodle Rocky. It doesn't work in this world.
Ute ads used to be about going to work. Now everyone is going on holiday and the roar of the engine has been replaced by the sounds of Smooth FM. Yep, and the secret sound is us driving through a koala sanctuary. Everything else in these ads are high octane. Karen, why is the soundtrack easy listening?
Well, it's not just easy listening, it's also retro. Like, these are the kind of songs that you'd be dancing drunk to at a wedding. You know, someone's aunt's lost her shoes, everyone's having a good time, we're all singing along because they are universal favourites. And if we put on a more modern artist like Billie Eilish on this, people would start to feel like it's isolating and not a product for them, where we know the buyers of these cars when you are 35 plus, also more heavily baby boomers as well. So these are the songs of their youth that remind them of freedom. But beyond that as well, what's interesting is about the easy listening pace, beyond popularity, is these songs kind of hit a beats per minute of around 90 to 130. And music has this great impact on us where it can affect our heart rate, it can affect how we feel. So when it's that 90 to 130, that's the pace of walking. So 60 is when you'd fall asleep. 230 is too much, techno is too much. But then like that sort of walking pace is when you're starting to feel good, you're in your groove, and when you're feeling that positive, you're much more receptive to taking in brand messages.
Yes, music is the glue of advertising. It is definitely a glue, especially in television ads. And what we do know is that our brain processes music in a similar place that it processes memories. And so for a lot of brands, they want ad recall. And the best way to get that brand recall is with catchy, familiar tunes that have some kind of nostalgia attached to it. And those are just perfect examples of that.
I actually think music's performing a particular role in these spots. I think it's so high octane. We know that there's a lot of testosterone in them, right? And we know that even the mere sound of an engine can actually increase the library of testosterone in both males and females. I mean, even during the course
That is amazing. I have the opposite effect on people.
I mean, for me, like even during the course of this show, I feel like I've, a couple of hairs on the chest have maybe popped up. And I think what you need is to just control that sort of testosterone surge. And something like Journey and Don't Stop Believing absolutely balances the hormones out. That's what this is doing. I think particularly with a car like this, it's got a duality to it, right? Like there was this perception that they were a rough ride, that the suspension might be like a little bit bumpy, and on the inside in the interior, that it didn't have those sort of luxury extras, but now you've got your latte holder, you've got your seat warmer, you've got your harness points for your cavoodle in the tray, right?
I still reckon though they'd be better off doing what Toyota did with Bugger and just stick an idea in there.
Yeah.
Or they could go to an artist like Kevin Bloody Wilson and buy Rootin' in the back of the ute. Which I think nostalgic and a missed opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Yank tank drivers have picked up a reputation for going their own way across multiple parking spaces. But we did find one ute driver that we love, Lexi.
When her farming family recently realised that Lexi had a knack for driving, they sent the videos into the ABC.
She is only 1 year old, so really she shouldn't have a licence yet. She is just a dog.
That dog should not drive. Not because of her age, she's drunk. She bluey .05. We're the generation of royalists in the queue to meet Lizzie. Our new king needs to follow in his brother's footsteps and get down with the kids. How do you convince young people to not go off king? We've asked our agencies to sell King Charles to Gen Z. Here's the first pitch.
Hello, I'm Freddie.
And I'm Harriet. We're Good One Creative.
Growing up is all about going against the grain.
But in a world of non-conformists, how do you rebel?
Take a look.
Hey, Mum. I'm failing English.
Oh, don't worry, Billy. You just have a different learning style, that's all.
Yeah, well, I'm also in a polyamorous relationship.
Oh, your mother and I talked about that. Monogamy just feels so outdated.
I'm smoking a lot of weed.
Edibles, please. Save your lungs.
Yeah, well, I'm famous on TikTok for antagonising police horses.
That's actually a good niche.
Well, I support the monarchy. I love King Charles. I think he'll do a marvellous job. God save the king.
Billy!
It's William!
Be a rebel. Conform.
Well, you've convinced me. Here's the second pitch.
Hi, I'm Max from All Good Collective. And I'm Lee. I helped Max bring the spot to life.
So when we saw about what Gen Z like and wants,
we realised it wasn't that far from what King Charles believes in too. Enjoy.
Imagine a world where you live close to nature. Really, really close. And truly understand its concerns. Imagine breathing pure, fresh air. Because cars run on cool and tasty organic fuel. Imagine a world where you never have to leave home or pay rent, and where the fridge is always full.
Coming! Dinner's ready! Coming, Mum!
Charles did more than imagine that world. He made it real. Imagine what he can do now that he's king.
Wow. You've convinced me. Let's see what our panel thinks. Dee, which did you prefer?
I still hate the royal family, but I really like number 1.
OK. Karen, what about you?
I am going to go with number 2 because I think they gave reason after reason where they painted a world that just sounds delightful to live in.
OK, all right. Christina, what about you?
Yeah, I thought they were both good, but I'm going to go with number 1. I like the commentary on modern parenting, you know, the edibles please line. I can semi-relate to that.
I can fully relate. Todd, tell us, which one did you prefer?
I'm basing my decision on excellent casting and a really good performance, so I'm going with 1.
Which means, congratulations, good one, creative. We'll send you this in the Royal Mail. Good news, the 90s are back. Also bad news, the 90s are back. Interest rates are up, the Unabomber is making headlines, and Charles is attending a royal funeral and pretending he didn't plan the whole thing. And most shocking of all, for the first time in 30 years, teen smoking is on the rise. The change is thanks to vapes, which have been aggressively marketed towards young people by vape companies buying ads on the Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon while using colours that pop like a smoke-filled lung. Around the world, advertising is fighting back from the problem they created. In the US, vape warnings look like this.
If you vape, you could be inhaling toxic metals into your lungs. To show how scary that is, we made metal monsters. But nothing is as scary as the facts. Vaping can deliver toxic metals like nickel and lead into your lungs. That's metal in your lungs.
Oh, no. Sounds cool. In ads, vaping is represented by an ooze in Canada and black balloons in the US. Singapore personifies it like this.
He's too clingy. I can't seem to get away from him.
Good lesson. Real friends don't ask you to suck on them. Well, I don't even know if I stand by that statement. While one US campaign went with these friendly little fellas.
What are you, a baby? Come on. Take a real hit. Yeah. That's it.
Still not the worst thing I've seen in a men's bathroom. Christina, what's the best way to make vapes look unappealing?
I find this one of the toughest briefs, I've got to say. Like, and there's some valiant efforts there. I think there's something interesting, the extended cuts of some of those things. You'll see a lot of sort of teen culture, teen movie references there. There's a bit of Lord of the Rings, there's sort of a bit of Transformers, and in that slime one, that's a bit Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the slime years. But I kind of feel like it's old people like me trying to write for youth. That's what I feel when I look at that stuff. Look, I don't mind my toxic friend. I know it looks quite phallic and that kind of, it's deliberately trying to do that. I think it needs to push the irony a little bit further, maybe a bit more dumb ways to die, or maybe that friend needs to be super like Steve Urkel, grade annoying, or like absolutely sort of coercive control, keep pushing it. I think that...
And by the way, you don't think you have the capacity to talk to young people with your Steve Urkel references? I
actually like there's something about that. The slime one is all about you don't know what vapes are doing to you. I think there's something in that inside, but I think, you know, go there, you know, show them as like these lab rats. It's you're a living, breathing experiment. We don't know what's how far can we push the darkness there? One thing we're missing is be where the social acceptance is being fueled, and that's in the socials. There's these influencers that are clearly funded by big tobacco, like Austin Lawrence, who are sort of, you know, chasing clouds of smoke. They're doing their smoke art. He's even showing X-rays of his lungs and saying, look, I'm fine. You've got Mike Vapes, who talks about, you know, this is my vaping journey and it saved my life, right? 63% of the content in the socials around vaping is positive. You've got to be where the social acceptance is being fueled. And I think it's less about us coming up with it. Hand over the reins to the anti-vapor influencers in that channel. So you can feel native and you can have another voice to counter that sort of positive stuff that's happening there.
I think the genius and the evil of it was the naming. How vaping is not considered smoking. And that's an interesting separation, that all that work that had been done for anti-smoking now gets repositioned into a new thing called vaping. And one of the fundamental issues with vaping is belief. Young people today do believe smoking's bad for them, but they don't believe vaping is bad for them. And rational messages to young kids, we know very, very well doesn't work for a very simple reason, is that your brain does not fully develop until the mid-20s. So, and your prefrontal cortex, which is your rational part of the brain, is the last to develop. So all these rational messages and laying out the toxins that are going in and all of those things, that's not going to do anything for young kids. But here's a quick win. It's a quick win. Regulate before it's too late. Regulate before millions of kids are hooked on this. We know from smoking, we know, take color out. We know that kids are attracted to colorful things. It sounds basic, it's true. So take all that out. Don't allow them to advertise. People that are already vaping, they can still vape. But this new generation that's coming through, we can stop that from the learnings we have of smoking if we do it, and we do it soon.
But we can't regulate in the social environments. We're so behind on that across, you know, whether it's gambling or smoking, and that's where a key issue lies. I think part of this has to use kind of a different sort of playbook to what we're used to from the past. I think, you know, we've got to make it really, really uncool, and this is a shit idea, but I think, like, take a leaf out of Facebook's demise, right? Let's have all the oldies vaping, right? Like, just like when your aunt and your grandma were on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of here. But it needs something.
I mean, I'm behind this idea where, like, you know, here at the ABC, the face of old people, that we all just start vaping on air as a bad example for the young people to get them off the vapes. And I'm willing to put my hand up as high as my poor heart will allow it to go up to be the first person. I'll even blow the ABC smoke at the end of every episode. Back home, the federal government is puffing up its own anti-vaping efforts with a $63 million campaign. While the states are going their own way, Queensland has a hip influencer.
Feeling out of breath lately? It could be from vaping. The chemicals in vapes can permanently scar your lungs, making breathing difficult. Watch out for more vape truths with me, Dr. Karl.
Ah, not my lungs, though. They're made of metal. Fun fact, Dr. Karl is only 15 years old. That's what vaping does to you. While Quit Victoria thinks this is lit.
E-cigarettes might seem innocent and appealing, but the truth is, many e-cigarettes contain poisonous chemicals, such as those in biofuel, paint thinner, and bug killer. In fact, more than 200 chemicals have been detected in e-liquids. It's time to see through the haze. Get the facts on vaping.
I mean, look, he should quit, but he's pretty talented at blowing smoke rings. Just give him that. To get people off cigarettes, we used to cut brains in half. Now, our dire warning is that you might slightly annoy your judgiest friend. Dee, will this ad scare kids?
These kids live in the here and now, so there's no point saying they're going to get long-term damage in their brain. That won't work. The Karl one, you don't have to show your target market to appeal to them. However, I would say most of that target market, even though they're trying to make him sort of, you know, funny by dressing him down, would still go, who is that old man and why is he talking to me? Like, I do like the fact that it's short and it's single message, whereas at least with the Victorian one, I think it's clear. Like, it mightn't win any creative awards, but what it's saying is clear, and I think it's probably quite effective.
Yeah.
I think there's something important about having that message out there in a way that people can receive it, because a lot of Gen Zs are now using TikTok instead of Google to get their information, of which there is a lot of misinformation on TikTok by 20-year-old scientists. And so for them, they're reading that vaping is perfectly fine. It is just water. It is clean, it is clear, it cannot harm you. So all this does is just having these messages come in, just adds a little bit of cracks in the confirmation bias, so they can start to think about being like, is this true? What am I actually smoking? I don't really know. And just having that then means that they're moving closer towards making a decision to stop.
Advertising campaigns struggle to rap with the kids because they don't have my finesse, drip or vibe. But kings like me stay rizzed up thanks to campaigns like this one that put the teen in the nicotine. No cap.
And it's like, oh, ew. Yeah.
Silly kids, those cubicles are for snorting cocaine. Oh, by the way, vote in the Logies. Karen, is shame a better tactic than, you know, facts and truth and stuff?
I think it is actually quite a good tactic, right? Because it's about the fear of shame. So for this audience, it's about hitting them where they hurt, which isn't about their bodies or their health. It's about how they look towards their peers. And not Gen Z in general, but also just teenagers in general, are still trying to form their identity. And the main thing they talk about vaping is it is so cool and everyone's doing it. It just looks cool, everybody's doing it. So for them to choose not to means that they're still, while they're trying to figure out their identity, choosing who they are. Is it going to be someone who's socially acceptable? Because as humans, we want to make sure that we fit into society. And will it be someone who has friends? So by showing that it maybe isn't so cool, it allows them to have that doubt of being like, how far am I going to go for this?
The problem is, though, with that, and I think shame is a really good fear tactic. This reminds me of, remember those ads like the anti-dope ads where someone was, you know, had a drag of a joint, the next minute they're injecting heroin? It's kind of, it's just not believable. And in the kids' experience, they'd say, well, I know plenty of people who vape and they don't walk around like a sort of thing, a zombie.
I think this ad I actually think is actually really brilliant, right? Yeah. Like, feels like it isn't written by adults. It is shot to look like TV's Euphoria, which is like a Gen Z show, but also dropping vapes in the toilet. Like, I Googled it and over 1 million hits of people who drop their vapes in the toilet and are trying to still make them work.
Like, I think this is really smart. I think that, you know, as much as they might be inhaling weed killer, you know, picking something out of a shitty toilet bowl is downright disgusting. I think this ad actually has it all. I totally agree. You know, it's got the judgment, it's got the stigma, and it's got that agonising desperation. And I think the way you fight vape culture is by, inciting the scorn of their own kind and a really grimy, shitty loo.
Vapes aren't the first harmful product to try and lure kids. Long before regulations turned their packets plain, cigarette companies also used to target a harmful product to children using colours, camels, and even a cartoon.
The Flintstones has been brought to you by Winston, America's best-selling, best-tasting filter cigarette. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should.
See, kids? That's why the cavemen died out. That's all we have time for tonight. Please thank our panel, Dee, Karen, Christina and Todd. We'll leave you tonight with a more honest truck commercial for those who believe size really does matter. We'll see you next week.
Calling all men real men, manly men. Oh, and women too. Sorry, didn't see you there. If you really love the outdoors, then get out there and destroy it. Rip through the outback like you rip through your KPIs at your actual job. which is a data analyst in the financial industry. Once you get in, you'll never want to get out because it's really high up and you're too scared to jump down. But you don't get scared because you're a real man in a real truck. The Gruen Guzzler. Compensate for something.